Perfect. That's Central Area Matters motion. So there's an emergency motion here from Councillor Ring, Perry, Metcalf, McGrattan, Burke, Fitzpatrick, O'Shea and myself. You have that. And Councillor Costello as well. And Councillor Anya Clancy. There's an email there at lunchtime now, wasn't there? There's an email sent around to everyone, so we may have got that.
Yeah, if I make comment on it, just on the background to it, as everyone knows, there's been this ongoing dispute between Croke Park and the Handball Centre, and a while ago they got the 7-day notice to quit, and then in the last week they got a civil bill which mentions the management committee, and one of the management committee is a lot of them are locals, but one is a local who actually works for Dublin City Council, and now has a civil bill on him which he's going to be sued under, and it was actually served on him, which was rather unfortunate. He was bringing his wife to hospital for a treatment for cancer when they came up and served this, and unfortunately that's the level that Croke Park have gone to. And I attended a lot of meetings with Tony Gallagher, Inspector Gallagher was a sort of mediator during the summer, and I went to a lot of meetings as chairman of the steering committee, and we thought we were getting somewhere. And the architect Shane was brought in. They were asked what did they want in terms of Croke Villas, if there was going to be a switch, and as soon as they mentioned the 3-letter word bar, all bets were off, and we made a point. Just give them the centre, and if people want to apply for a bar and GAA want to object, or residents want to object, that's fine. But now, once again, it seems to have slipped into this intransigence on the part of the GAA, and I think I'm very reluctant to condemn the GAA on anything, but whether the GAA and Croke Park are two different entities, I don't know, but they seem to be, and it appears that, and I would make a point while I have this forum. The newsletter was distributed around, as everyone probably knows, 10,000 of them around the area. And the GAA were lauding themselves and applauding themselves and what they're doing for the area, even claiming, as they always do, the senior citizens function, which they give the premises free for, which is very good and very good social responsibility. They don't pay for it. They don't transport the senior citizens to it. It's run by the guards out of Fitzgibbon Street. It's sponsored by local businesses. If you read their propaganda, which is all I can call it, you would think they were doing everything for the area, and what they're actually doing for the area is they're intimidating local people and threatening local people and serving civil bills on local people and notice to quit on a centre that's there for the last 40 years, run by this handball centre at no cost to the GAA. And I think at this stage something has to be done. There's an impasse there now. It seems to be on the part of the GAA, in my opinion, and I've sat in at the meetings, and Tony Gallagher did a fantastic job mediating, and we thought we were getting somewhere, and suddenly a 7-day notice on the civil bill appears, and I want to roundly condemn the action of the GAA and request them to, as I say, as we said on the motion, to reopen negotiations with a view to reaching a solution which is acceptable to all, and in particular, as I said, the local community, because it is a community facility. No matter what the GAA and what their subtext or their sub-plan or whatever about that centre, there is an opportunity because of Croke Villas, and yet they've just come along with the sledgehammer to crack a nut approach once again, and I heartily condemn it, and I've spent a lot of time over the last number of years on this, as has all the local councillors, and it's just sad to see that once again it's gone to this level. Go on, it.
Metcalf, do you want to come in there?
Briefly. Well, just a question before I can finish what I want to ask. When GAA come in with a deal with your Croke Villas, will the GAA be taken over then? Croke Villas, will they be the landlords of the tenants? No, we will. I'm glad to hear that, because if they're treating the community today the way they are, I would hate to think that we're handing over our residents that and got no such way they'll be treated. Because I do agree with Councillor Ring, it's appalling the way the community's been treated.
Councillor Burke.
Just, I have my name to the motion, and I support what Councillor Ring said. Look, at the end of the day, we all know with negotiations and conflict that around the table talks is the only way forward. That's the reality of this. No matter what happens at the end of the day, there's going to be a sit down and there's going to be talks. And I think that should happen sooner rather than later. And maybe if the manager I know the manager won't and can't get directly involved, but it might pass on that to open up negotiations. And as Councillor Ring said, if the community wish to apply for a bar licence and let it go before the courts, whatever it be, and if you get it, you get it, you don't, you don't, whatever process takes place. But to be this agonising, agony individual, it's not going to work, and it's just irritating the community, and it's just making things worse. So really I hope you come to the table.
Patrick?
Thanks, Chair, and I was happy to put my name to the motion and thank Councillor Ring for drafting it for us, and I'm happy to formally second it. But I would also, say that it does seem very regressive, and it's very, very disappointing at this point that relations have deteriorated to such a point that it's, trading of legal threats. It's not what the GAA is about, and it really is doing a disservice to the GAA as an organisation and to every ordinary member that Croke Park would act in this way. And I think that whole discussion about Croke Villas came about as a consequence of the city manager meeting with Croke Park. That's at least the impression that I came away with. Now, I don't know if that's the case, but if that is the case, I wonder, Charlie, could you bring this motion to the city manager's attention? And could you ask the city manager to go back to Croke Park and to engage with them and try and break this impasse and at a minimum get this civil action withdrawn? It's really not appropriate, and it's not going to in any way contribute to rebuilding a relationship between Croke Park and the community. Thank you.
Councillor Fitzpatrick, Manager.
Yeah, just a couple of points, just to make a point that I mentioned made say to it earlier. As far as I understand, there's no link between the Croke Villas negotiations and this, if you know what I mean. As far as Dublin City Council are concerned, whatever Croke Park want to bring to the table as part of their redevelopment of the Croke Villas thing is a matter for them, but we're not going to have a situation where what they want is kind of has to wait for this, if you know what I mean. Because Pairc Gallagher's role will be to say that we want so many units, we want them of a certain quality, and the role of their architects is to take that concept into their overall development, because we're not going to allow ourselves to be waiting for Godot, as the fellow says, by the time we get this resolved. I think the other point is that I bring it to the attention of John Tierney. I know there is ongoing dialogue, as there should be, with John and Croke Park authorities and the Aviva authorities, etc. I'll bring this to the attention of the stadium director and ask for his observations if he wants to give any, and if I get them I'll share them with yourselves. From my point of view, there has been a lot of progress made, I think, generally in terms of the overall relationship with the wider community, I suppose, in Croke Park, based on the Croke Park study and its recommendations, and it's a pity that it took so long for that to be absorbed. And I think to the credit of Jared Organ, he's doing his level best. From my point of view, I think the litigation issues that relate to the handball centre has the risk of destabilising the wider relationship, and I think that's something that Croke Park should be mindful of. They will say that it's a private legal matter, and that's fine, but it would be a pity if the good work that's across the area that has been done would be destabilised by a litigation route.
That's agreed. Councillor Ring, you want to briefly use your...
Yes, just very briefly, Chair, just one thing that the manager said there. They're not mutually exclusive. We sat down in the negotiations, and part of the negotiations was a replacement facility for the handball centre in the Croke Villas development if it happened. So I know what you're saying, you're absolutely right, but the GAA are certainly putting it out there that this is part of it, this is part of the solution. So just for clarification, thank you.
So that's agreed. Motions then, there's a couple here we could probably move to report. Councillor O'Callaghan's, that can go, I suppose, to report. Seamus, you can move. Perfect, that's moved. Councillor Perry, that can go to report. You're first in 5200.